You're going to love what the 49ers are doing, and you're going to love what we're eating here in Nashville. This is the best burger in Nashville, and it is modeled after In-N-Out Burger. It's called Dream Burger, and then you could just move over from the food truck to this bar right next door, which looks like it could be in the Mission or in North Beach. They've got vinyl. It's called Vinyl Tap, and you can eat your burger in one of the most hipster environments ever. But I mean, it's a pillowy bun, smash burger, In-N-Out gourmet style. Number one on essentially every burger list here in Nashville. What a connection to California. Speaking of that, this is a Nashville, California connection. George Kittle out here in Tennessee is on his Alter G anti-gravity treadmill, working back from the Achilles tear. The 49ers remain hopeful that he can be back in time, in uniform, playing in week one when San Francisco takes on the Rams at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. That would be a tremendously quick recovery from an Achilles tear that happened in January, but it really does seem that George is making rapid progress. Remember, just a few weeks ago, he was in a boot pretending to be golfing in Cabo. Just about last week, he was out of the boot, actually golfing in Oregon. Now we see how George is maybe moving so quickly through this rehab. The Alter G anti-gravity treadmill basically makes George feel like he's at about 20% of his actual body weight, which is what, around 240 pounds? Uses some air pressure tricks. I don't know how the science exactly works, but it enables athletes to start weight-bearing recovery quicker than they used to be able to. And could be a big reason why George Kittle is on a very, very rapid pace to recover from this torn Achilles. We'll see if the 49ers move to a tight end in this NFL draft. I do definitely think that there still is a spot on this roster to add somebody at that position, but obviously the fit is going to have to be good. Now, speaking of the draft, this right here is, I think, what many of you have continued watching for. Uar Bernard, one of the greatest athletes that we've ever seen enter the NFL prospect pool. From a small village in Nigeria, had never played football before, but was discovered as a basketball player and recently ran through the combine gauntlet of drills. His numbers are absolutely otherworldly. It seems that Bernard was built in a lab. And yes, the 49ers are interested in hosting him. That comes from Ryan Fowler, and this opens up a fascinating, fascinating discussion because I think that Chris Kacerek might be able to work with one of the most unique athletic talents that we've ever seen discussed around the NFL draft. Look, a perfect 10 relative athletic score for Uar Bernard. He's 6'4", 306 pounds. There has been a report that his body fat percentage is only 6%. The vertical jump of 39 inches at 306 pounds is absolutely insane. For comparison, Aaron Donald's vertical jump was about 32 inches. So 7 inches higher than Aaron Donald's. And Donald is known as one of the most freak athletes of all time along the defensive line. A 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump, which is over a foot longer than any other 300-pounder in this year's NFL draft. 4.63 40 and a 1.6 10-yard split. I mean, it's at the level where even though this guy hadn't played a down of football, I think he's probably going to get drafted just because we haven't seen these types of measurables before. See, I mean, you talk about moldable clay, this might be it. I mean, this is... You talk about moldable clay, this is it. Now, I highly doubt that a team will use a day one or even a day two pick on a player who has yet to play tackle football. That probably would be deemed irresponsible. But a day three pick? Sure. And there we start to talk about the 49ers' interest, and we start to talk about the fact that the 49ers don't have picks beyond the fourth round of this draft. Now, they can always trade back if they somehow deal Brandon Ayuk before this NFL draft and not after June 1st, if they're willing to shoulder more of a cap hit, and if somebody actually offers them something ahead of the event later this April, maybe the 49ers will have later round draft capital to actually entertain something like this. You ask yourself, would it be worth it to take a flyer on a player like this. And this is where, I think everybody should step back, because I'm sure that everybody's going to be screaming yes right now in the comment section. And you can let me know yes or no in the comment section. Playing football is a whole heck of a lot different than executing combine drills and scoring very impressively. There are nuances that contribute and determine success in the game of football that really can't be measured. I think that Brock Purdy is an example at the quarterback position, with his moxie and obviously his ability to throw accurately when under duress. And he's got good measurables for some of the stuff that really matters at a quarterback position, and that is the 10-yard split. He can obviously burst away from opposing pass rushes, but still, so much of what Brock Purdy is able to bring to the table is something that wasn't measured at the NFL Combine. Along the defensive line, where I think we would project somebody like Uar Bernard, hand usage. Then there's also football IQ, the ability to recognize what's going on in front of you, the ability to jump snap counts, the ability to outfox opposing offensive linemen, because everybody's going to be really athletic in the NFL. I mean, they're not going to be as athletic as Uar Bernard. He's going to have a leg up there, but it's not like he's going to be facing high schoolers if he makes it to this league. It's not like he's going to be facing just college guys. This is the best of the best from every single level of football. And that means that the floor of athleticism is going to be at a place where you have to win with the nuances. So the question is, how well will this guy take coaching? How well will he be able to adapt with the small things in order to win at a big level in the NFL? The athleticism gives him an extraordinarily high potential ceiling, but it is the craft, the details, the stuff that is probably going to take some time to develop, that will determine whether or not Uar Bernard actually has a decent enough floor in the NFL. And that's why a team is not going to use a high draft pick on him, but a team might use a lower draft pick on him. And Bernard in a 49ers uniform, well, they're interested in hosting him. They've got spots along that defensive line, I think, still free on this roster. I've talked a lot about the 49ers only having 7 players right now on their roster that I think are shoe-in 53-man fits. And you take a look at somebody who's 6'4", 306 pounds, 6% body fat, with the athletic scores that Uar Bernard has, and you say, well, you could teach this guy to set an edge, right? 35-inch arms. Like, his arms are over 35 inches long. That's good for edge setting. The burst, the ease with which he runs the 40 at 4.6, that's faster than Jerry Rice. He ran a 4.71 40. Yes, also faster than Aaron Donald's 40. You look at all these things and you say, okay, Chris Kasarik, the 49ers D-line coach, might have something to work with. At the very least, this should pique people's interest. Now, again, the 49ers draft capital, it's tricky for San Francisco because they have the first round pick. They have the second round pick. They don't have a third round pick. That went to the Dallas Cowboys for Osa Odighizuwa. And then the 49ers have a cluster of fourth round picks and nothing after that. I think somebody who's never played football before in a league that is as technical as the NFL probably is not going to command the fourth round pick. That is going to be later on in the event. So can the 49ers grab a sixth? Can they grab a seventh? Is there going to be some kind of trade down where the 49ers can get more picks? They have talked of this draft, and the Rams have said this more openly, but I understand that the 49ers think a similar thought about this 2026 NFL draft. They believe that it is not very strong toward the bottom, which is why the 49ers have been okay parting ways with lower round draft capital this year. And they'd rather have that lower round draft capital in 2027 when the draft is perceived to be stronger at the very bottom. This year, teams like the Rams, teams like the 49ers, and I'm sure those two squads are not alone, perceive this draft to be weaker at the bottom. But then you've got this one big exception in Uar Bernard, who is drawing so much interest right now, including from San Francisco, just because of how unique he is athletically. We're talking a lot about draft strategy this month. And, the one thing about it is that you can never chart how this event's going to go. So many people are going to be charting. They're going to be doing mock draft after mock draft. And those are all such a big waste of time because you don't know how this is going to go. It's going to divert from your plan, even your wildest imagination, by pick 5. That's how unpredictable of an event the draft is. It is the ultimate crapshoot. It is like an actual game in that you cannot chart it. You can prepare for different scenarios. You can have an overarching strategy, but you can never firmly say which direction this is going to go. So many people are going to have their ideas of what's going to happen, and then it's all going to go off the rails once this draft comes in late April. I think the 49ers in general have positions that they obviously want to strengthen with the rookie pool, but they need to have backup plans in case that ends up not happening during the NFL draft. Left guard is a great example. They've been talking a lot about going after an offensive lineman. Defensive line is an obvious one. The 49ers, just the numbers there are not adequate right now to begin a season. And they've drafted defensive linemen more prolifically than any other team in the NFL since 2017. They've literally used more draft capital over the Lynch Shanahan era on the D-line than any other team. And last offseason was a great embodiment of that. Wide receiver, another obvious position. There's nobody on this roster, and we're not counting Brandon Ayuk, but there's nobody on this roster outside of Ricky Pearsall, who has scored a touchdown in a 49ers uniform and is under contract beyond this 2026 season. So you've got to build for the future at a receiver. I think safety is another good positional candidate for the 49ers in the draft. So you could see they've got all these needs, but they only have 6 picks. You don't know which way the draft is going to go. You're not going to just pick a position to get a guy at the position. You need to like the player that is available to you to pick. So there's a good chance the 49ers exit the draft happy with what they got at one position, but maybe not fully content at another. And if that ends up being the case, well, then you could backfill using free agency. That's why I talk a lot about Joey Bosa and Joel Bitonio. Free agent signings happening potentially after the draft if the 49ers still have needs there, because the finances can be more in line there. Obviously, the 49ers not financially seeing eye to eye with Joey Bosa right now, but the market can change later on. Plus, any signing after the NFL draft doesn't work or doesn't count toward the compensatory pick formula. We know the 49ers ride that compensatory pick formula probably better than any other team in the NFL. They have the most comp picks earned this entire decade. So if you sign Joey or if you sign Joel Bitonio after the NFL draft, I think it's after the Monday following the draft, so late this month, you can really play out that formula much more efficiently. Anyway, that has to be the overarching strategy for the 49ers entering this draft. And then if they do have a later pick or if they somehow can find their way into undrafted free agency with somebody like Uar Bernard still being available, well, then maybe they can pounce and they can add a true project of a player, but with real upside. I think that's something that should really excite fans. And I love these kind of stories at this time of the year, because, I mean, you have all your guys who have gone through the football factories and you have a good idea of who they are as a player. Then you're going to find out how they do in the NFL. And a lot of that, of course, is going to be how they can approach things psychologically, because the differentiators in the league are definitely going to happen in those small nuances in the margins. But then you have guys like this who completely break the scale of precedent. And he hadn't played football before, but the athleticism is also something like we've never seen before. And you just wonder, well, what might the future hold? And I mean, wherever he ends up, he's going to end up in an NFL building. Somebody's going to want to take a chance on him. Somebody might be lucky enough to take a chance on him. We know that the 49ers are interested. You just wonder what will happen moving forward. Anyway, just wanted to put that on your guys' radar. So wanted to put the best burger in Nashville on your radar if you're ever in town. Dream Burger, yes. It's like a gourmet in and out. Happy Easter to everyone. I know you're probably spending today with your families, so maybe you're going to be catching up on this video a little bit later, but it's a beautiful day here. Hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are. Happy Easter. We will talk to you soon.